You know that thing where you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't do it? And if it's a project and you have a deadline, when the deadline is getting closer, that's when you start being able to get things done real quick out of nowhere. And then you start thinking, no, I work well under pressure. No, you don't. Sure, you do, but you work better without the pressure. And what I want to share with you in this video is a technique that I learned in a book called Atomic Habits. And when I learned this technique, I didn't realize that I started implementing it, but subconsciously, because the thing is, when you learn things, some things that you learn, you won't implement consciously, but subconsciously. And I realized that I started implementing this in my life subconsciously. And I promise you, I have never been as productive as I am now ever before. And it is, again, because of this technique that I'm going to share with you. So by the end of this video, I'll have shared with you the technique. I will have also shared what you should be careful of when it comes to this technique. That's very important as well. But before we get into it, if you're new around here, my name is Limo, and this is Thrive, where we cultivate our minds, because as farmers of our thoughts, we create our lives. So before I can get into this, let me quickly cover why we procrastinate. And if you saw my previous video, you will know all of this. I'll pin the video right here for those who haven't seen it. But the reasons we procrastinate, there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot of reasons we procrastinate, but generally it's things like fear. You fear success, you fear failure, or you're just overwhelmed. You've got too much to do. There's too much. This thing that you're doing requires way too much and you don't know where to start. Or you don't know where to start because you don't have enough information. You only know what you need to do now, but you don't know what it looks like going forward. All of these things can come together in different ways, in different situations, to cause you to procrastinate. So in order for us to overcome this procrastination, we need something that will do three things. Number one, something that will build momentum. Because as I often say pretty much every week now, motivation is not your friend. Motivation will come when you start doing things. It doesn't take motivation for you to start doing things, right? So because of that, we need something that will give us momentum, something that will get us going, something that will keep us going, even when we don't feel like doing anything, right? So the first thing that we're gonna have to ensure is that whatever we do will be something that gives us momentum. The second thing is that it has to be something that will help us form habits easily, because habit formation is what helps you to be able to mitigate the effects of procrastination. But on top of that, habits is what helps you to just generally improve things in your life, because it is through habits that you are where you are right now. In your life right now, where you are, it is because of the habits that you have in your life. And so in order for you to start seeing improvements, you're gonna have to start changing the habits that you practice in your life. So we need something that will help us to form habits easily, because forming habits is not easy. The habits you have now, you have formed over years, so to break or change them will require effort. So we need something that will make it easier for us to do that. And then the last thing is for us to have something that will help us work with the Zeigarnik effect. So the Zeigarnik effect is basically an idea that is centered around the fact that our brain likes to finish tasks and it hates tasks that are not complete. So I don't know if you've been in this situation, but if you have something that you need to do, something that you need to finish, it's going to be at the top of your mind. It's going to be at the top of your mind that, I need to do this, I need to get this done. And unless you finish that task, it's going to cause tension in your brain and you're going to want to finish that task. But at the same time, research has shown, and I'm going to pin the research that I'm talking about below. Research has shown that it's not just a case that we want to finish tasks, but sometimes you find that if the task is a project and a project has many tasks in between and it's like a big project, right? If that's the case, what you find is the completion of a step within the project will cause your brain to calm down and be like, okay, we finished the task. And so there's no tension in your brain. That is why you'll find that sometimes it's challenging for you to do the next step in whatever the project is. So once you complete a step, you find it challenging to start the next step. So whatever we do, we want to be able to take advantage of the fact that the brain wants to finish tasks, but also be wary that if we finish tasks pertaining to a big project, what's going to happen in our brain is once we finish any step in it, it's going to be harder to start the next step. Which brings me now to this technique that I'm speaking about, and it's called the 2-minute rule. And the concept is very simple. The 2-minute rule states this: if something will take you less than 2 minutes for you to complete it, do it now. So if there is something that you need to do and it will take you less than 2 minutes for you to do it right now. Now, obviously, this will require effort on your part. There's nothing that just comes. You're gonna have to put in some effort. But this actually makes it a bit easier for you, and I'll tell you why. So if you have something that is straightforward, like it's not a project, it's just something you need to get done. I'll give you an example. If you have 1 or 2 dishes in your sink, do it now. Wash them now, get rid of them now. If you have a cluttered desk, quickly organize things. If it will take you less than 2 minutes to do so. Of course, if it's mega cluttered, that's a different discussion, which we'll get to. But if you have a cluttered desk, just clear things up quickly, 2 minutes, get it done. If you have clothes that are folded, it'll take you less than 2 minutes for you to put them away. Anything that will take you less than 2 minutes, just get it done now. But now, how do we go from that? Because not everything in your life is like a 2-minute thing. Sometimes you have projects that are like much bigger than 2 minutes. So here's what you do there. So if you remember the Zeigarnik effect, I said the brain likes or it doesn't like tension and wants to mitigate tension, right? So here's what you can do. If, say, for example, let's take an example project here. Let's say you're trying to write a book. To write a book is quite a big task and it'll be overwhelming. That's why you'll procrastinate on it. Fine, let's break it down. We're gonna work on a chapter. Working on a chapter is much easier than working on an entire book. Now, what you can do with the 2-minute rule is, even working on a chapter takes a while, but it doesn't take you more than 2 minutes to write a sentence. So your task can simply be to write a sentence for this book. 2 minutes, you write that sentence, get it done. This will have 2 effects. Number 1, you've gotten started, we're covering the momentum of it. And then number 2, the Zeigarnik effect. Remember, I said that your brain doesn't like tension. The Zeigarnik effect, your brain is gonna want to complete the task. So you're creating tension in your brain where if you do this for just 2 minutes, you're going to be in a situation where you've got this chapter you've started, but you now need to finish it. And your brain is gonna constantly be there on some, I need to finish this chapter. But here's another thing. Even when you do get to working on it, when you do carve out the time to actually give more than 2 minutes to this thing, because with the Zeigarnik effect, we've created the tension. At some point, you're gonna have to actually work on the chapter, right? But even when you do that, don't finish the chapter. Just as you're about to end the chapter, cut yourself off right before you finish it. We're still working with the Zeigarnik effect here. Let's say you're studying for an exam. Instead of completing, because obviously you have a whole range of topics. Let's say you have 5 chapters to cover. Instead of completing that first chapter before your break or before you stop studying for the day, don't finish that chapter. Get your brain to be in that state of tension where it's like, I need to finish this thing. And what you're gonna start to see is gradually and slowly, you're gonna start to see yourself doing the things that you want to do. But even with that chapter, in order for you to start going back to the 2-minute rule, don't try and cover the whole chapter. Just try and cover just knowing what the headings are. That'll take you less than 2 minutes. So in a chapter, you've got headings, just cover just the headings. Just know what the headings are so that you're aware of what you're gonna be studying. And that'll take you less than 2 minutes. Or start with the introduction, the first paragraph of the chapter. It'll take you less than 2 minutes. The point I'm making here is you want to break any big task down to its smallest component. That's what the 2-minute rule is all about. Try break any project or anything that you do in your life, try and break it down to the smallest component. And if there is something in your life that you can do in less than 2 minutes, just do it, get it out the way so that it's out of your brain, so that you don't stress about it, you're not worried about it. And then when it comes to those big projects, you're trying to break it down to its smallest component so that you can start with the 2-minute rule, take advantage of the Zeigarnik effect where now you're covering that tension that you've built in your brain. And then you're gonna start to see progress in your life gradually and slowly. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cover some of the warnings that I wanna give you. But before I can get there, if you found value in this video and what I've shared so far, please ding the like button, let it know you're finding value in this video, and let's continue. So here's what you need to be careful about. Don't use the 2-minute rule to procrastinate on the things that you need to do. Because what you're gonna find sometimes is, let's say you have something that's pressing and you need to get it done now. It's urgent and it's important for you to get this thing done now, but all of a sudden you want to do dishes. All of a sudden you want to do something else. Be careful of something like that, because something like that will actually find you using something that's supposed to help with procrastination to procrastinate on other things that are important. So have the presence of mind to know when things are far too important for you to be procrastinating on right now. Another warning I want to give you is that you shouldn't assume that this thing will work out for you real quick and that you will always get it right. Even to this day, I don't always get it right. I still find myself procrastinating. I still find myself spending too much time doing things I shouldn't be doing, or I tell myself I don't want to be doing. So do not assume that this will be like a magic pill that works for everything, any situation, all the time. It won't always work. And also remember, you're an individual, so you're gonna have to find ways to apply it in your individual life, and you're gonna have to figure out how to apply it in your individual life. And then the last thing I wanna tell you is things like social media, YouTube, series, movies, all of these things, they are your biggest op. Unless they form part of what you need to do, they are your biggest op, and you need to be careful about it. Because yes, they can be downtime, of which granted they can be downtime, but quite often we do too much of it. We do too much of them. So even with the 2-minute rule, you can use it on, okay, I will wait 2 minutes before I indulge in this thing. And then in that 2 minutes, just give yourself the time to process whether or not you want to do this thing. So you can use the 2-minute rule to stop yourself from doing certain things. Take 2 minutes to just figure out, okay, do I really want to do this thing? On some level, yes, you do want to do this thing. That's why you're tempted to do it. But on a deeper level, on a more purpose-driven level, you will find often that you do not want to do this thing. But give yourself that 2 minutes, because often we just jump into things. The 2-minute rule can be used in order for you to mitigate the effects of things like social media, streaming, and all of these things. Because if you think about it, something like a series takes advantage of the Zeigarnik effect in the sense that you want to know, they leave tension. That's why there's a cliffhanger. They leave tension so that you want to see what's going to happen next. And that's what I'm saying you should do in your own life. Create your own cliffhangers so that you want to continue with your own tasks. Now, as I said, I've covered procrastination in much more depth in my previous video. So if you want to know why we procrastinate, how we procrastinate, and what you can do about procrastination, check out the video on screen right now. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.